Sup guys, I'm another Metal Helm, do 150 class comes for the end of the year. I'm also doing Patreon requests, and thankfully Arctic Monkey has been requested on Patreon. The last ones haven't. I did them out of I guess the kindness of my heart. I did them out of me being interested in them. I don't usually do that because I have many subs on Patreon and I have a lot of requests to do, so I don't usually do it. So I'm glad someone has requested this. Sadly, Oasis is still in the issue of no one's requesting an Oasis album. I've just done them, and I don't plan to do any more unless someone requests them. So if you want to see Be Here Now or something like that, I would love to see that. But yeah, thankfully someone has requested Humbug, and I don't know much about it. I started out with the self-titled album, and it is basically, in my mind, everything that early Arctic Monkeys hated, but very commercially successful, some good tracks, all that jazz. I thought it was pretty good, but where I kind of fell in love with Arctic Monkeys is their first two albums. They're like the sort of punky energy that they come through with, like the level of cynicism, and like they actually have strong opinions, and it sounds really fucking amazing. And the lyrical focus and content matter is top tier. All that jazz. I've been told that Humbug is quite different to the first two, which makes sense because I've never heard of Humbug until delving into this. And I don't know if Humbug's more depressive. I don't know if it is more cynical, but less from like a sort of hipster angle and then deconstructing that like they do on the first two albums. I don't know where it comes from, but I've been told that this is quite a bit different to their first two records, so I'm curious to see where it goes. Instantly in, anyway. More joyous so far, sounding. Sounds really large, I like it. Production's quite sick.
If you can summon the strength, tell me. I can't hold down the urgency. You've got to make your descent slowly. And oil up those sticky keys. Coax me out my load and have a spin of my propeller.
Very stripped back. So far, like,
It's a necessary evil. No cause for emergency. Borrowed the beak off a boat. Eagle.
very different to the high octane sound of their first two albums. Very interesting. Massive tone shifter. Vocally, he sounds a lot more like self-titled. It feels like a very different track, because if we go to like the first two albums, a lot of their biting critique there, it's so in your face, high octane, and it mixes well with the like instrumentation, all of that, and it talks very explicitly about the like topics that they're touching upon. This feels more ethereal. It feels like it's basically like talking about this like dysfunction, like this build up and then dysfunction. So if you want to be crude, like sexual dysfunction or some shit like that. But like I don't know where it's stemming from. It feels like I would have to listen to the rest of the album to dictate like what's the start of this one. Now, what's interesting about this is it's a lot more internal, where usually what they would do is they would have like the first two albums, they had like a veneer of snarkiness, like they're like, oh, we're little like pretentious little hipster fucks and we're critiquing other people, and then they strip that shit down, and in the back half they go into the introspection and it gives you a nice little tidbit into them. This feels like they're just going straight into that little tidbit, but they're leaving it as a bit of like a mystery of like exactly what it is about. But considering the fact that the first two albums have been touching heavily on like masculinity and like what that is, like either that be with like sexuality or being that with like the party life, what is it like to be this sort of man, the ego, that sort of thing, modern culture, that sort of, all of that stuff, I wouldn't be surprised if this is a deconstruction of being a guy or some shit. And I'm curious to delve into that. If you haven't watched one of my videos before, I do ratings on the side. These are my first listen ratings. I listen to these projects multiple times over before I post them to my Discord, where you can chat to me about my ratings. I'm always active in there. I love chatting to my community. I also post it to Album of the Year, which is the music rating website I use. Fuck, rate your music. And on Album of the Year, I've listened to about 1,400 albums, not 600. And over the course of about a year and a half, the average rating is a 6 out of 10. Before I listened to like start this channel, I listened to maybe 10 albums across my entire life. That was Linkin Park, Bring the Horizon, all that sort of jazz. And I got into this to listen to more classic albums, and that it's brought me here. But yeah, my average rating is 6 out of 10. I solely think that's because of my Patreon. Over on my Patreon, it's $5 a month, all the way up to $13 a month, depending on the length of the request that you want to receive. You get uncut reactions, all that sort of jazz, but you also get to request. $5 is 30 minutes or less, and then $13 is up to 90 minutes or less, and then there's multiple tiers in between that, priority, all that sort of jazz. You can go over there. But yeah, the reason that my rating is a 6 out of 10 is because of Patreon, because I have about 200 people that are subbed over there. They all have the ability to request an album, and that leads to good albums being requested. If you see my thing here, all of those lower ones happened before I had album requests. Now I don't have time to listen to all of this chuff. I only have time to listen to good albums, which not too bad, but it does mean my curve, despite being a nice little bell curve, is situated towards 6-7. Haha. But yeah, all that being said, yeah, my average rating, I think spiritually, is a 5 out of 10. If something's a 5.1, I think it's above average. With all that being said, I think this is a pretty good track. Like, I would say it's a 7. Depending on where the album goes and how it explores these concepts and stuff like that, would impacts how well I would receive this track on a re-listen. Because if I feel like the stuff that they're hinting towards on this track, if they don't expand upon that or anything like that, this becomes a bit weaker and underwritten. But if it nicely teases out some other stuff that they're chatting about in the future, then it's used as a really good way of like building towards that, and it might get a higher rating. But yeah, let's see how it goes. Crunchier.
Outside the cafe by the cracker factory, you were practicing a magic trick, and my thoughts got rude as you talked and chewed on the last of your pick and mix. Said you're mistaken if you're thinking that I haven't been called cold before, as you bit into your strawberry lace. Then offered me your attention in the form of a gobstopper. It's all you had left and it was going to waste. Your pastimes consisted of the strange and twisted and deranged, and I loved that little game you had called Crying Lightning, and how you like to aggravate the ice cream man on rainy afternoons. The next time that I caught my own reflection, it was
The hi-hats and stuff, they're very sharp. The S's are peaking a lot. I love this, like, sonically. Sounds quite nice. It's like a bit more of an... This track reminds me of like an adventurous version of what they would do on their self-title. Like a tiny bit more adventurous with like the sound, like a bit less safe, where AM is their most safe record. But this feels very much in line with that compared to like the prior two records.
Your pastimes consisted of the strange, twisted and deranged, and I ate that little game you had called Crying Lightning.
This sounds like the indie rock that would end up absolutely dominating FIFA soundtrack. This track alone spurred the entire soundtrack for the next decade of that series. I would say like it's a great to an amazing track, and that like what I'm going to say is actually quite biting. I feel like it's going to be quite harsh, but I still think this is great. It's just the thing that caused me to be an Arctic Monkeys fan is their first two records, and the reason for that is if we go into the songwriting and like the points that they're being made on the first album, it works really well. Like the stories that they're being placed brings you into an atmosphere because the entire album is focused on this young youthful nightlife of Britain. And in that world, you can vividly picture, like, in the track where he's, like, making fun of people all over the fuck in the nightclub, and, like, he's, or anything like that, dancing shoes, where he's looking at, like, just put on your dancing shoes. Like, I can picture the nightclub that he's talking about. It might not actually look like any of the nightclubs that he was referencing, but, like, I can picture a nightclub. I'm getting a vivid story that I'm weaving in my head when I'm listening to the track. And I can picture him in the corner, like, critiquing and poking fun and stuff like that. When we go to the criticisms of like the people that faking themselves being from New York and using Strokes influences, I picture the New York apartments that those bands are living in, that they're fake in there. Like I can picture a British person in there from a British band, and it gives me nice imagery. With this, I'm not really getting that imagery, and I think a lot of that is because the writing on this album so far is not pointed. It's not as pointed. This is talking about like in a more ethereal concept of like this girl manipulation, that sort of thing. But he hasn't done the world building. He the first two albums he does intense world building, and then these stories feel like they could be practically TV shows or movies inside of them. But with this, it's like we're getting like it's less tethered to an experience or grounding, like a grounded imagination that I can envision. It's more so just really well done music, and it's donning on the same aesthetics as something like self-titled. It doesn't have this world to it, and that's the part that I loved about Arctic Monkeys, and especially their pointedness. That was also another aspect. Their pointed nature of calling people out and having this like punky fucking energy and principle. With this, the flowier nature of these tracks gives you and the less grounded like world building that you have allows Arctic Monkeys to interweave and not be as punky and not be as controversial. Like the first two albums, there's going to be people that hate it because they just hate how in your face they are. With this allows you to hide it, the same way it was like self-titles. The reason it's the most streamed rock album of all time is it doesn't say anything. It's Mr. Beast. I like Mr. Beast videos. And that's a bit of it. I don't know. That shouldn't be edgy. It's fucking the most popular thing on the planet. But I like Mr. Beast's videos. But he's quite literally spoken about how he doesn't put his personality in them because it's less palatable. If you have no personality and you act safe as possible, you'll get the most streams, most listens, most watches, that sort of thing. And I feel like Self-Titled Content does that. It does it well, but it does that. And I feel like this is showcasing a lot more in towards that direction than the first two, where it's like Alex Turner comes out a lot. Like I don't know if he changed or what, but yeah, the first two albums, there's so much personality in there, and that's the thing that gravitates towards it. I think I probably will end up actually liking and think this is a great album, but it's a distinctly different great than the first two. Where the first two is like, oh, those two albums, if it came out today, those are the ones where it's like, oh, I listened to that one album, I'm going to every single concert that you're going to, and I'm buying your merch, and I'm doing all of that because, holy fuck, like, you have, like, I fuck with your message, and I fuck with you. With this, it's like, oh, yeah, this is great so far, in the terms of, like, I wouldn't go to, like, concerts and stuff like that. Or if I did go to a concert, it would be like, oh, I'm doing that to hang out with a friend. It's not, I'm going there because I need to experience this person live. It's like, yeah, this would be a good concert live, but it's not going to be a thing I desperately need to go to. Yeah. Sounds fucking great though. Also, is it remastered? Because if this isn't remastered, this is really well produced. Original mastering, dude, this is incredible production. This sounds fucking great. This is more in line with the first albums, I suppose. Oh no, actually maybe not. See, this is less pointed. Like, he's talking about predator, like a predatory sort of attraction sort of thing, like these dangerous animals. But he's not calling anyone out. Like, there's not a... You can't think of who he's talking about. Where if he was talking about, like... If this was, like, the subject matter on the first album, I'm sorry, you can think of the chavvy cunt that he is fucking pointing out and being like, you're a cunt. I can't picture anyone with this. It's just the amorphous concept. And I much prefer the pointed nature of, like, him pointing out specific, like, caricatures of people that feel realer. Where this just feels like... I don't know, like, less grounded. Sounds fucking great, though. Like, it sounds real good. Like, production-wise.
Divided up into two teams. When the acrobat fell off the beam, she broke everyone's heart. I'm pinned down by the dark. A-N-I-M-A-L.
Sounds fucking great though. It's crazy how large it sounds and how textured a lot of the guitar work and drums should sound. Oh, I love how large the bass sounds. Even with my critique, I might have to give this a great because it just sounds so great. I'll give it a 7.5 because I think like the fucking production, the sound is like great to amazing. Like this is incredible. But I don't like the lyrical stuff as much. I don't like the lyrics actually, so I will give it a good, but like, holy fuck, does it sound amazing. Secret Door. This one's a blow track, I think. So, I'm curious.
Fools on parade, cohorts and carry on for waiting eyes that you would rather be beside than in front of. No, she's never been the kind to be hollowed by the steps.
This sounds, so far, like the album sounds very Netflix coded as well. But this sounds really nice.
She swam out of tonight's phantasm, grabbed my hand and made it very clear there's absolutely nothing for us here. It's some magnolia celebration to be attended on a Wednesday night. It's better than get a reputation as a miserable little tyke.
See, this is more in line. Not fully, but like as close to the originals.
The secret door swings behind us. She's saying nothing. She's just giggling along. Her arms were folded, the most indignant, not looking like she was soon to leave. I had to squint in order to believe.
The S's are so peaking in these recordings, weirdly. The vocals are very compressed here too.
Surviving such a habitat. And the secret door swings behind us. She's saying nothing, but she's just giggling along. Even if they were to find us, I wouldn't.
Very, the S's are crazy.
I'm completely occupied as all the fools on parade cavort and carry on for waiting eyes. Ones you would rather be beside than in front of. But she's never been the kind to be hollowed by the stars. Fools on parade, frolic and fuck about to make a gauge, turn to a scribble.
I like the personality involved on this one.
That haunt her absence, but you'd have to think she'd care. Fools on parade.
Which kind of reminds me of like David Bowie stuff as well, but I'd say like I'm bouncing between 7 up and 8. I'll give it an 8. Actually, I'll give it an 8.
To sing along.
Actually, no, I'll give it 7 up. I think it's a good to great track.
I was biting the time zone, and we embellished the banks of our bloodstreams and threw caution to the colorful.
It was very compressed, I think. But I like the guitars. I like how wacky and circusy it is because it is playing about like druggy sort of stuff, but like psychedelic-y. But psychedelic in the same way that Trimask Replica is a bit out there. I've only heard tiny bits of that, by the way. I don't like the mixing on this album, on this track. And I think it has a different mixer than, no. How did the same person do the mixing on this track than the other ones? That's odd. Yeah, I'm not much a fan of this one.
You showed me my tomorrow beside a box of matches, a welcome threatening stuff. My hopes of being stolen might just ring true.
Mixing's also a bit odd on this one, but it's a more laid back track, so I could like get away with it a bit more. And it's not as clear and beautiful as the other early ones. Yeah, it can create a nice atmosphere, which I feel like this is kind of that, man. Alright, I like the vocals.
Didn't heal as fast. I hear your voice in silences. Will the teasing of the followed by the thud.
I'll tell you, I have slight, small, higher feelings on it. So like 5.5. I like how messy this is a bit. I think it's decent. I like the vocal line here a lot. I like how they play with tempo a bit. Yeah, I like how they play with tempo on that. Alright, this sounds nicer, less compressed.
I thought I saw you in the battleship, but it was only a look-alike. She was nothing but a vision trick. Under the warning light, she was close, close enough to be your ghost. But my chances turned to toast when I asked her if I could call her your name. I thought I saw you in the rusty hook, huddled up in a wicker chair. I wandered over for a closer look and kissed whoever was sitting there. She was close and she held me very tightly till I asked awfully politely, please, can I call you her name?
It sounds so pretty.
Elongated my lift home. Yeah, I let him go the long way round. I smelt your scent on the seatbelt and kept my shortcuts to myself. I thought I saw you in the parrot's beak, messing with the smoke alarm. It was too loud for me to hear her speak, and she had a broken arm. It was close, so close that the walls were wet, and she wrote it out in letter sets. No, you can't call me her name. Tell me where's your hiding place. I'm worried I'll forget your face, and I've asked everyone. I'm beginning to think I imagined you all along.
That was a pretty great track. It sounds so nice.
My lift home. Yeah, I let him go the long way round. I smelt your scent on the seatbelt and kept my shortcuts to myself.
Very crying rhyming. Well, like, lyricism. It's good in the same way that the best parts of self-titled are good.
Sister in the Cornerstone, on the phone to the middleman. Oh, when I saw that she was on her own, I thought she might understand. She was close, well, you couldn't get much closer. She said, I'm really not supposed to, but yes, you can call me anything you
Just a great track. Fuck, it sounds nice. I wouldn't be surprised if that's like a beloved track from them. Cool sounds. Ooh. If this album is going to ditch their sort of songwriting in the first two that I love, doing tracks that sound this good is a good way of making up for that. But much more pop version of indie rock than before. I love the sound of it though. Sounds mixed really well. I'll go 7.5 at least. A good to great track. Stone's voice sounds nice there. Good to great track. I didn't realize that the change would happen so quickly. Like, because this does sound like self-titled quite a bit. This track, no. And the bicycle wheels all struggle to move round in your muddy mind. Blatantly caked and unwilling to wind. No cooperative time, so we sit on the springs till the mud goes dry. I love the writing on this one.
Shadow of a snake pit on the
So this is what I would hope for. Like, they're playing with like some like these area like instrumental passages with the original writing, and if you want to do a like more stripped back track like that has a different vibe to the first two albums and explore like maybe the concepts that you would want them to on this album, I feel like this is the better way of doing it than the very, very polished and sanitized tracks. I would say it's like a good track.
The shadow of a snake pit on the wall. All the pretty visitors came and waved their arms and cast the shadow of a snake pit on the wall.
Yeah. Overall, the album's like pretty decent and good so far. Right, and we're coming into the last track, but it's just so different. So different to their first two albums. I like how snappy some of this feels.
Softly, stranger, move over toward the danger that you seek. You think excitement has receded, then the mirror distracts. The logic of the trance quickly reaches and grasps. Handsome and faceless and weightless, your imagination roams. And now it's no things that he knows as he leads you through the grinning bubble blowers in the snow. Watching his exit was like falling off the ferry in the night. The inevitables gather to push you around. Any other voice makes such a punishing sound. He became laughter's assassin shortly after he showed you what it was. And now it's no one's fault but yours. At the foot of a house of cards, you thought you'd never get obsessed. You thought the wolves
I like how this is interesting because you don't really get this much on the album that, like, they're self-titled, but this one is quite very strongly lyrically based.
all drowned.
It's just in their new style, like the way they did the rest of them. I'd say it's a decent track. Yeah, I'm wondering if, like, I'll appreciate Arctic Monkeys to the same level as the first two albums going in the future. Because it does, this is such a drastic difference to the first two albums. I just don't know if they'll ever go back to that. I love those first two albums. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I think it's like a decent record, but it's like a decent and good album of a band that I don't love. Because the first two albums are a band that I love. And this is like, oh yeah, this is like solid. It's like very much solid. But as I said, like it's not the type of music that would make me like, I need to see them live, that sort of thing. Like there's like albums that are made by, like there's worse albums made by other artists that would feel closer to than this one. It's just, this is like, yeah, very safe to me. And it doesn't hit on like the reasons why I liked it, which was like Alex Turner's personality just doesn't really shine up here. He's carving it off. He's Jimmy Beasting himself. But yeah, I still thought it was a pretty decent record. Thank you for requesting it. If you want, I would like to do more Arctic Monkeys. Every single month, like they're scheduled to happen every single month. But if they don't get requested, then I wouldn't do them. But because I just can't. I have to do Patreon requests. But yeah. Anyway, I love you guys. Thank you for watching. Arctic Monkey fans, you guys have been absolutely amazing. So sorry that I didn't love this record as much as maybe you guys would, but I really do appreciate you guys a lot. So thank you so much. I absolutely love you. Peace.